Do you hear that? They're out there, and they're looking for me. I can hear them rustling in the leaves. It's stink bugs. It's an infestation, so we had to move some of the plants into the movie vault to see if we can isolate them. Try and figure out where they're laying their eggs. Now, some people might say it's crazy. Maybe I'm losing my mind out here in the jungle, but I don't think so. It's not like I'm having hallucinations or talking to people that aren't really there.
I've got cancer.
Hanky? Is that you, dude? You don't have any cancer.
Something wrong with my blood or my urine?
Urine? No, I don't know. How would I know? You sound weird. How do you feel?
Pretty much the same. I feel puffy, blotchy. I never seem to have very much energy. I keep getting these little sore throats. I really just don't feel very good.
Dude, did you eat one of these bugs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's not going to be so good. Dude, you going to hang out?
Well, I could certainly use the money.
Oh, no, there's no money. Okay, I think we're good. I'm just going to move one of these plants here out of the way, okay?
About what? Wait a minute. What are we talking about?
Well, this week's episode is going to be all about humans hunting humans for sport.
I've hunted the world's most dangerous game. Man. Excuse me. Manatee. I once shot a manatee.
We're going to hunt down every version of the most dangerous game that I can find. This is a hugely influential story that grandfathered in the slasher genre, the Predator movies. It's part of the roots for franchises like the Hunger Games and Battle Royale. It's been adapted so many times. This is the first time I had to acknowledge from the start of this channel that I wouldn't be able to cover every single version. But rest assured, by the time we get through all 5 chapters, I will have covered over 40, starting at almost 100 years ago. Hanky, you still with me?
Who am I? That's the real question, isn't it? Who am I? Who are you? What other questions are there? What other questions are there, really? If you want to understand the universe, embrace the universe, the door to the universe is you.
Okay, well, it looks like that stink bug is kicking in right about now. Just settle in, my friend. Sit down for a bit, relax. I'm going to get into the video because I just think you're tripping out, dude.
Am I? I guess I am. I was.
Right. Well, most of the time when I'm researching or writing one of these series, I collect as much data as I can, read up, find books, old magazines, documentaries, Google. I make notes and then try and find an interesting way to present the material, a way that makes the most sense to tell the story. Most of the time, I don't know what shape it's going to take until I'm done, and this time, it's a little different. This time, somebody already did most of the research and notes for me and put it together in this great book, The Most Dangerous Cinema by Brian Sen. You know how important this book is to this channel?
Tell me.
This book is one of my key inspirations for this channel. When I was trying to figure out what kind of content I wanted to create, it was like a real light bulb moment. I believe it's currently out of print, which is a shame. It's far more thorough than I can be here, so I highly suggest people interested in more on The Most Dangerous Game seek it out on eBay. Point being made is that we're going to use the format laid out by Mr. Sen for the most part. The book was published in 2014, and there have been some newer entries to the genre since, so I will be adding some new titles and moving a few sections around as well to better fit this video format. The book is a thorough examination of all the adaptations of the Richard Connell short story, The Most Dangerous Game. A double meaning both in the game that they are about to play,
I want to play a game.
and also the prey of a hunter is another meaning for game.
There can be no argument. The game is afoot.
Is that right? Sherlock Holmes says that to start his adventure, but he does mean he's going to chase his prey, I guess. So, yeah, that works. Yeah, no, that's a completely different game, although technically I suppose he is still a noun. So in this video, we're going to go over the original story and the first 3 adaptations to screen. In each of the following chapters, we're going to tackle a couple more until we get through them all. Sen lays out about 14 main examples, each getting their own chapter in the book, and then there are some bonus chapters after the main movies covering other concepts near to the genre, so like TV episodes that reuse this plot idea as a one-off episode, or straight-to-video versions, movies where aliens hunt humans, that kind of thing. So each chapter will also cover one of those briefly. I won't get into every single movie listed in this book, there are far too many examples, but we'll cover the majority of them. There are also going to be some movies that you might think make the mark but actually fall short. Let me give you an example quickly. The Black Castle, 1952, when his friends go missing, a British gentleman goes looking for them at Count Bruno's castle, where yes, he has been luring people and killing them, but he isn't hunting them for sport, just good old-fashioned revenge. I mean, every slasher movie involves a human hunting other humans, but why is the question. The motive matters very much in this case. At least, that's how this book has it broken down. Many have also mentioned the parallels with a real-life serial killer, but his sordid crimes were not directly attributed to or inspired by the original story or any of the films, most of which preceded him, so I'm not even going to mention his name. That'll show him. Our overview for this series looks something like this. The 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, there's a pretty good adherence to the short story. In the 70s and the 80s, it becomes really exploitative to women, and then in the 90s and 2000s, it finds a home in the action genre, which makes sense. For the last almost 10 years that the book doesn't cover, we will have to wait and see what's in store for us with these newer titles.
It's a little incentive, isn't it? Huh? You are a sly boots, you really.
Well, yeah, I gotta find some motivation for people to keep watching, right? Now, I would normally lay out the plot of the novel at this point, but we can use the first movie as an example as we discuss the plot since it'll save time. Plus, it's the closest to the original story anyway, and the changes are nominal. The Most Dangerous Game from 1932, aka The Hounds of Zaroff, aka Death Island. This is the best. It's the best!
The best, Jerry. The best.
I believe it's the most accurate to the original story. It's a lean 62 minutes and is the archetype to compare all others to. Even by modern audience standards, I think most everybody would find this production gripping. And don't get me wrong, there are lots of great movies that are lots of fun coming up, but for a film almost 100 years old to be this good is extra sweet. And I encourage everybody to download this film because it's in public domain and it's completely legal to do so.
God put this here for me and you. Take advantage, man. Take advantage.
So let's go over the plot of the movie. 100-year-old spoilers ahead. So the great game hunter, Claude Rainsford's on a ship, chatting with his best pals about whether it's really sporting to hunt animals since men get the advantage of rifles. But before the conversation can finish, the ship hits a reef and sinks, and Rainsford swims to shore, the only survivor. He finds himself on an island and makes his way to the only house, and there he meets Count Zaroff, who fancies himself a hunter as well.
And you mean to say that you were the only survivor?
There are a few other castaways who are here,
And Mr. Robert Rainsford, Miss Eve Trowbridge,
How'd you do?
How do you do?
and her brother, Mr. Martin Trowbridge.
How are you, old chap? Pretty well shaken up, I guess, huh? Coming out of it now, thanks. We know just how it feels, don't we?
Indeed we do.
but it soon becomes apparent that their host intends on hunting them and keeping their heads in jars as trophies. Rainsford takes the girl, and they're hunted across the island and setting booby traps for their hunters.
Booby traps. That's what I said, Sam. Setting booby traps.
Zaroff isn't really easily fooled and pursues them. At the end, Rainsford is shot by Zaroff near a waterfall while he's fighting one of the hounds of Zaroff, but Rainsford survives and comes back to the house to claim his victory. As perhaps expected, Zaroff is not the man of honor he claims to be, and he tries to double-cross Rainsford and fails. What a dick.
Okay, so maybe all his dogs aren't attached to one leash.
No, his dogs weren't on any leash. His dogs were hounds. He's a sick freak, and you're tripping on hallucinogenic stink bug meat right now.
Generally, less fun to be around than any person I've ever met. But...
Dude, he kept people's heads in jars. I knew this would happen.
What did you know was going to happen?
That you would derail this whole video just engaging with you when you're like this.
Why, am I getting on your nerves?
Yeah, just let me get through this, dude. You're such a dick.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, whatever. The female lead is an addition to the movie that wasn't in the book. It's a very Hollywood concept to need that sex appeal and make that the first order of business when adapting the story to screen. In this case, I think it's an organic addition, giving Rainsford somebody to talk to and to give exposition to the audience, and that initial impulse to add women into the plot becomes integral with time over the numerous iterations, even though the roles change, and that's going to come back at the end of the series. But Count Zaroff, he's a real creep. Beyond keeping people's heads in jars, and aside from his obsession with hunting, the explanation for which is something that many antagonists in these movies will echo in some form.
Yes. Here on my island, I hunt the most dangerous game.
He's also a direct threat to women in this version and many others.
What is woman? Even such a woman as this, until the blood is quickened by the kill.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. You Americans. One passion builds upon another. Kill, then love.
There are a few lines or moments that find their way into other versions of the story that come up time and time again. Sometimes they're almost verbatim, but in others they get interpolated or morph into something similar, and I'll try and give some of the examples of this as we go through the movies. There's the entire theme of the movie, which is summed up nicely right at the start of the movie and this video.
I was thinking of the inconsistency of civilization. The beast of the jungle, killing just for his existence, is called savage. The man, killing just for sport, is called civilized.
Yeah.
It's a bit contradictory, isn't it?
Now, just a minute. What makes you think it isn't just as much sport for the animal as it is for the man? Now, take that fellow right there, for instance. There never was a time when he couldn't have gotten away. But he didn't want to. He got interested in hunting me. He didn't hate me for stalking him, any more than I hated him for trying to charge me. As a matter of fact, we admired each other.
Perhaps. But would you change places with the tiger?
Well, not now.
Numerous recreations do their version of Zaroff's trophy room with the heads of his prey adorning the walls. One of the more interesting aspects of this movie is also its connection to King Kong. You might have noticed that they come out only 1 year apart, that they have the same directors, Ernest B. Schoedsack and Marion C. Cooper, scriptwriter James Creelman, similar cast with Robert Armstrong, who plays Carl Denham in King Kong, Steve Clemento, and Noble Johnson, and Fay Wray, which is the added female to the cast. The sets were reused, and even the music for both movies was done by Max Steiner.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? They started filming King Kong before The Most Dangerous Game, but due to Kong's stop-motion animation, which would take an additional year to finish, The Most Dangerous Game was released first, even though filming in specific locations would shoot the Kong material and then immediately afterwards The Most Dangerous Game footage. So that's the first film. What do you think? I love that maverick filmmaker geniuses were pioneering the giant monster movie genre, and in their downtime they made another classic film for pennies and recycled all their staff and sets.
And that's just too good a bargain to pass up.
Agreed. So I guess you would have to call 1945's A Game of Death the first remake. In fact, you could call it a carbon copy. This is almost line for line the same movie remade 13 years after the original. It's still in black and white with minor changes. They changed Zaroff to Erich Krieger to no doubt evoke anti-German sentiment in the 40s, a year after the end of World War II. That makes sense. But it's more than that. Look at some of this dialogue. It's practically verbatim. The book highlights this, so let's play some examples on screen.
Now, take that fellow right there, for instance. There never was a time when he couldn't have gotten away. But he didn't want to. He got interested in hunting me. He didn't hate me for stalking him, any more than I hated him for trying to charge me. As a matter of fact, we admired each other.
Perhaps. But would you change places with the tiger?
Well,
Never knowing
not
what you'll meet
now.
around the next corner. To me, it's the greatest sport in the world.
Sport for the hunter, I imagine, not for the hunted. Now, take this jaguar, for instance. Look at the expression on that face. What do you suppose his feelings are?
Look, Collins, there are two kinds of creatures in the world, the hunters and the hunted. I happen to be a hunter. Frankly, I'm not concerned with that fellow's feelings. As a matter of fact, he's probably enjoying himself just as much as I am. After all, he has a sporting chance of getting me.
Well, I still wouldn't want to be in
Oh,
your
no,
shoes.
you didn't.
You'll take
I
one
asked you if there'd be as much sport in the game if you were the tiger instead of the hunter.
Gotcha now, Bob. Well, that's something I'll never have to decide. No? Listen here, you fellas. This world's divided into two kinds of people, the hunter and the hunted. And luckily, I'm a hunter. Nothing can ever change that.
And it's not just that. Director Robert Wise, who also directed Star Trek the Motion Picture, The Haunting, and The Sand Pebbles, went as far as to reuse actual shots from the 1932 version of The Most Dangerous Game. also reused Fay Wray's screams from the original as well. So with no additions of worth, I think we can give Brian Sen the final word here. A worthy, well-acted and well-crafted thriller in its own right, with a few token changes and even the occasional improvement. A Game of Death remains too slavish a remake for its own good. Back in 1945, with The Most Dangerous Game only a hazy 13-year-old memory for most moviegoers, the project was a viable one, reintroducing the classic tale to a new generation of cinema-goers. And had the 1932 Most Dangerous Game disappeared into the limbo of the lost film, this remake would enjoy pride of place among fans today. But with the advent of video and home entertainment, A Game of Death has become superfluous. Alright, we've done two very faithful and orthodox versions of the Most Dangerous Game. Let's finish this video with our first digression or evolution of the Most Dangerous Game. In this case, I would say this is an attempt to fit the Connell story against more of a teen slasher aesthetic. And we'll get to that in a second.
Where you go, we go. Right? Right.
There are certainly many hallmarks of our classic plot, like our crazy hunter.
And as time went by, I adjusted to my new activity, and what had been an unpleasant duty became a pleasure. Then it developed into a passion, and then into a lust for blood.
He's got a pretty gruesome and ratcheted up trophy room. Rather than just heads in jars, we get acid baths and liquefied corpses. And it's not all doom and gloom either. Mike Brady, the dad from the Brady Bunch, he's in it.
Guess we'll have to play a different game.
What else can we do out here?
Well, this is always fun.
And the leading lady is already strengthened in this proto-slasher version, being capable, intelligent, and formidable in a way most ladies wouldn't be seen on screen for decades.
Of all the girls in the world, I had to get mixed up with the daughter of a judo expert.
Oh, Daddy told me lots of men like to wrestle.
Well, that's not exactly what I had in mind.
Good evening, ladies.
Keep away from us. Keep back. I'm warning you, I'll use this. Jeannie, run for the door. He can only get one of them.
While this isn't the best of the Most Dangerous Game movies, not even in this chapter, it's the perfect film to segue into the next phase of the Most Dangerous Game films, which continue to evolve the genre and play more loosely with the concept. 4 youthful leads, 2 couples that just took their boat to the wrong island and find themselves hunted is such a basic template for thousands of horror movies to come. This is a great example of how the roots of the Most Dangerous Game story reach deep into our cinematic pop culture landscape. Listen to film historian Richard Harlan Smith on the commentary for The Game of Death briefly explain how the Most Dangerous Game sets up a Texas Chainsaw Massacre decades later.
Bloodlust is dirt cheap and has a miserable reputation, but there are noteworthy elements at play there, particularly the villain's subterranean charnel house, which includes an acid bath in which Graf's minions dispose of the corpses of some of his victims. The movie's pretty graphic for its time and shows severed body parts, which to my mind makes it a linchpin of sorts connecting the Most Dangerous Game with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A survival story of a very different stripe, but one which also features a brother and sister on the run from a madman. You know, as Zaroff has his longbow, Leatherface has his chainsaw. Now, do I think Tobe Hooper meant to pay homage to the Most Dangerous Game? Probably not, but that's how embedded in our collective consciousness is Richard Connell's original story.
In the next episode, we'll cover the 70s exploitation versions of the Most Dangerous Game, but right now, we're going to get our first bonus section, this time taking a quick look at how many of the TV shows had episodes using this old chestnut for their plot. I'll keep it short, I'll say a few words, and then we'll close out on a montage of clips. The book runs through 34 different show episodes, which cover everything from CSI episodes, which there are numerous examples, to Slayerfest, which is an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer that happened to feature a group of monsters who all pay good money for a chance to hunt a Slayer. This is all set to the backdrop of prom night teen angst. There's a Texan vampire couple, a guy with stegosaurus spikes on his head, and it's all run by Mr. Pitt from Seinfeld.
Goody! Yes, yes, yes! Next up, Potterville, next up!
The Most Dangerous Game plot was also one of 3 stories included in the pilot episode for Fantasy Island in 1977, and they did it up real good too. The examples are too numerous to go through, so I'll leave this episode with this montage of clips from these shows to give you a smattering of what's out there.
Okay, let's hunt some humans.
Go, 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 go! Ah!
How does hunting a defenseless creature make you a good hunter?
Yeah, you should go after something that could at least defend itself.
Yeah.
You know, a really great hunter would go after something that could hunt him back.
Oh.
Like a man.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. A man?
Don't even joke about hunting no man.
I've always wondered what it'd be like to track down and kill the most challenging of all game. Man.
Even the majestic Bengal tiger is too easy to kill. It's boring, which is why tomorrow at dawn, I will be hunting the most dangerous game in the world.
Highlight? Us!
What? See.
We were taken by those foul lizards for their amusement, to be hunted, killed, and mounted on their wall as trophies.
The most disappointing hunt in memory. You're saying that this whole thing is a hunt and Tusk is the prey?
So, what are the rules here exactly?
Wanna be still. You get a 30-minute head start. Then El Contador and I, just us, alone, will track you and kill you.
The time limit will be exactly 60 Earth minutes. The hunted will be given a choice of weapons and a 5-minute head start.
All right, Gilligan. You know the rules. If you can survive for 24 hours, you not only save your life, the lives of your friends.
Rules of the game. Go on. It's a hunt, do you know that? The chasing task in a hunt.
We believe that our diabolical digits heads have created a very bitchin' course for this holiday bloodfest. To win the event, a player must place his medallion in the obelisk on level 5.
Any deviation of these killing procedures by either the hunted or the hunter will result in severe disciplinary penalty.
And so begins the hunt for the most dangerous game.
Fire! We have a great assortment of booby traps, heat-seeking androids, and mind-blowing mayhem guaranteed to kill a few of you in a very entertaining fashion.
You know what? It's actually making me think I could get on board with a manhunt.
Really? Me too, dude.
Just throwing that out there.
No, you do not go on a manhunt.
Screw you.
Yeah.
Well, that was pretty good, right? How do you feel now?
I feel great.
See, that's what I love about movies. They can provide a distraction from the things that scare us in our lives, our neuroses or even self-doubt that we need a break from. Even if it's watching humans hunt each other for sport, it's still more comforting to have an escape from those fears.
What scared you?
At the start of this video, actually, when you started talking about your urine, that really freaked me out.
It wasn't personal.
Oh, okay, well, noted. Good to know. You gonna stick around for the next video, Hanky?